This morning, we're talking about how to retire in 5 years. And we have Chris Burns from Burns Estate Planning and Wealth Advisors joining us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, starting off first is that we want to start by talking about how to prepare for retirement. There are many of our viewers in a few years out from retirement, and so often they feel overwhelmed on where to start. And so just the first question here, what's important for them to know?
Well, first off, congratulations, you're getting close to retirement. And it is a huge mental block that people have. It's because it's something you can just say, I'm gonna do it one day, I'm gonna do it one day, and now it's like, oh, I can see the finish line now. One of the big things that we always recommend people to do is to just make sure they understand where income's going to come from in retirement and what is that going to look like from a taxable standpoint.
And can you give us some examples of what that would look like?
Absolutely. So when we normally sit down with individuals, the first thing we want to understand is their goals, right? And then you're going to fill that time you were at work with something. It's probably going to have a cost to it, right? And we want to take that monthly expense, add some inflation to it, and see what your cost of living just to be in retirement is going to look like now, 5 years, 10 years down the road, because you've got 5 years until you're planning on retirement in this scenario, right? So if you see maybe we need to increase savings or income a little bit, you've got a window to maybe overload your 401k or take more savings than you normally are to be prepared for retirement.
Some really good points there and some great places to start, but what else should people be considering with this?
Taxes.
Yep.
Most people feel that taxes are going to go down in retirement, but depending on where you draw income from to supplement the replacement from your wages, you could potentially even raise your tax bracket. It doesn't always go down. And especially if this is like, hey Chris, you know, the income coming in, we're good with it. We don't need to touch any of our investable assets. Well, when you hit your required minimum distribution age, the government's going to make you touch those monies you've never been taxed on, which in turn could change how it looks from a taxable standpoint. So the things you do today is going to dictate how it looks from a cost standpoint down the road.
So although it seems to be 5 years down the road, now is the time to start thinking about that. And those that are now on the pre-retiring stage, what else should they keep in mind?
It would make a great time if you haven't looked at your 401k recently to make sure that it is allocated properly for now this 5-year window, getting closer to retirement. Maybe you have not updated that since you've made that decision, right? And then also take a look at your other investments, right? Now, 5 years and out, that's not a long time to make up losses, right? So maybe you might want to adjust how much risk you have in your portfolio. But if you can't answer the question of how much risk I have in my portfolio compared to the markets, it may make sense to sit down with an advisory team just to kind of see where you stand.
And so if someone's listening right now and they're thinking, yes, this is what I need to start doing, how can they get in touch with you?
I think the easiest way to do that in this day and age is our website. BurnsEstatePlanning.com is going to give you a lot of information about retirement, but it's also going to allow you to formulate a lot of questions so that when you do sit down with us, you're able to maximize that time.
And so if you're getting close to this point, if you have some questions that need answer, you can always reach out to Chris Burns. And as always, we're going to have all of that information on our website as well, fox10tv.com. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.